our host. It's Ebba.
Thank you. Tack så jättemycket. Det var gött. Our next guest does not actually need much of an introduction. He is not only a guest, he is a guru. You've probably maybe heard one of his TED Talks. I, for sure, can recommend the How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint. I've added to the 7 million plus views of this talk. Joining us here on stage very soon is David JP Phillips. Yes, the international speaker, coach, author, and simply global authority on communication. He was recently, if he doesn't brag about it himself, I'm going to do it for him. He was recently awarded number 8 in the world of global gurus in communication.
Yo, 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 are you doing okay? Yes. You're doing great? Yes. Smashing. I'd like to invite you to a subject so powerful that it borders on magic. Because how else could one single subject influence practically every single decision you take in life, every person you meet, everything that you do? One single subject, the subject of storytelling. And I'd like to begin our journey together to give you an idea of the sheer power and how easily deceived your brains are. Because you may think that, hey, I'm an intellectually high-functioning human being, but still you fall for the powers of storytelling. So let's begin our journey in 2009. A journalist by the name Rob Walker was fascinated by why somebody paid $1.5 million for the red leather jacket that Michael Jackson wore in the music video Thriller. Do you remember this one? It is a beautiful jacket, right? But is it worth $1.5 million is the question. Now, an identical jacket in a thrift shop, maybe it would catch $50. So why is that jacket worth $50 and this one is worth $1.5 million? Well, the reason is simple. Michael Jackson's story is associated to that jacket, and it increases its value immensely. So Rob thought to himself, wonder if this applies to all objects in life. So he launched what is called, or referred to as, the significant object study. He walks over to his computer, he logs in on eBay, where he purchases 200 random objects. The only prerequisite was that they were supposed to cost about $1 each. So 200 random objects, $1 each. He then calls up an author and he says, hey, I want to launch this study. Could you write me a story to one of the objects? And the author says, yeah, sure. What's the object? Well, it's this cool plastered horse's head done by a 9th grader. And this author said, yeah, I'll do it. So he wrote a story about a father whose daughter lived the escapades of Paris during the 50s. This horse's head had been stuck in the Louvre in a drunken cell, and somebody dropped it part way from the Eiffel Tower, and it survived. This horse's head was purchased for 99 cents. What Rob then did was he called another 199 authors up, and one day he simply had 200 stories to 200 objects. 200 stories to 200 objects. And I don't know about you, but I think that it was with nail-biting anticipation that he walks up to his computer to publish this on eBay to see, would there be a difference? What do you think? Is there a difference? Is it big? It was huge! This horse's head was purchased for $62.95. And for those who are quick in their maths, you know that that is a slight value increase of 6,258%. 6,258% based on one thing and one thing only, and that was a story. Nothing else changed. And then you may ask yourself, but what happened to the other 199 objects? Maybe there was something special with the horse's head. Well, the total amount of all of the objects, they were purchased for $129. When a story was added to them, they were sold for $8,000. The study was replicated 4 times with similar results. Now, the thing with this is that this is forgery, so they had to give the money back. But the brilliant thing with you, your businesses, your ideas, who you are, the ideas and the stories you tell, they're real, aren't they? You don't make them up. You don't go around lying about stories. That's a bad idea. Your stories are real, and they have the same impact as these. There's no difference. But what is the difference is that you tell them way too seldom. You sometimes come up with the idea that, hey, a PowerPoint seems to be way better than a story. Actually, I've been training public speakers and communicators for about 20 years. And if anyone would come up to me and they'd say, David, what's a certain way of me sucking more? Like, give it to me. I want one way to suck badly. I'll go, get a PowerPoint. It'll fuck you up. Now this is insane. How can these numbers be? How stupid are we? Well, it doesn't stop here, because you, me, and so many other people, we go to the movies and we watch this guy. Or we watch Marvel, or we watch something else which has action heroes in it, for instance. And you know what's fun? It's fun sitting outside of the movies, because you can actually see who's seen which movie based on the way they walk, can't you? People who've seen James Bond, they walk like this when they come out of the movies. They go, yes, you can see they're filled with cockiness. And in their head they're going, wonder how I can walk, talk like Bond. How could I dress like Bond? Maybe I'll take a shaken, not stirred at the pub next time. And some take this to the greater extent, so the next time they're going to work, they're going, and then suddenly, in the corner of their eye, they spot in the watchmaker's shop an Omega watch. And they look at this watch and they go like, wonder how much that is. And you know, they always hide the price tag, don't they? So people are always looking like this when they're looking at the watches in the watchmaker's shop. They pick up the Omega watch Seamaster. It's 15,000 euros. Absolutely illogical, because it only tells time. They buy this and put it on their wrist, because now they somehow, subconsciously, become associated to the emotion created by James Bond and product placement in that movie. I'm not insulting all of you. I'm not insulting your intelligence. If you got an Omega on you today, I'm not saying that was duly done by Bond. I'm just saying that that could be the case. How can we be so easily deceived? There are 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is this. Your limbic system, which is a central part of your brain, has existed far, far, far longer than your cortex, logical part of your brain. And the reason this doesn't work is because this hits your cortex. It's facts, it's logic. There's no drive in this. There's no emotion in this. If you look at and this is frightening to you, I know, some won't accept it, but it's true. Every single decision you take in life is driven by an emotion. Every single decision you take in life is driven by an emotion. You use logic to decide which emotion do I want to feel, but it was driven by emotion. This doesn't create emotion, that Tesla knows. So they put out nice photos of their cars. And maybe this brings out a little bit more emotion and makes somebody want to buy it more. I would assume that could be the case. But what they know, what they've learned, is that if they get their users to share their stories about their cars, that is a true story with high emotional impact. So I'm going to show you one of the most popular YouTube videos out there, which is showing how fast a Tesla plane can increase its speed from 0 to 100. And it looks like this.
I fucking hate it! Really? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh! Jesus Christ! Holy shit! Yo, I hit my chair.
Now compare that to the first 4 facts, the image and the story where you feel and experience other people's emotions. Which one do you think is the most powerful one? By far, the last one, if you're not already invested in the brand, of course. So the problem number 1 is that we focus too much on facts and not on emotion when we communicate, especially stories. Reason number 2 is this. If I ask you, how many stories have you told today? How many stories have you told today? Give me a hand if you believe it's beyond 30 stories today. How many have told more than 30 stories today? Nobody. And I would then say that you are all absolutely incorrect in that response. You're incorrect. Because how many stories have you told in here to yourself today, my friend? How many times have you said to yourself, either I look amazing today, or I look ugly? Or I'm so engaged today, this is going to be so much fun, and you replay these stories of what it's going to feel like when you walk in here, what you're going to take with you. You've probably played stories in here about Helix this evening and the amount of champagne we have to drink, right? You are constantly living in a story here. I hope you are, because otherwise your brain and your life would be slow. Even if you go like, I need to go to the toilet, you start simulating a story of where the toilet is, which exit level you will take, who you will pass, how many you will disturb if it's you in the middle who needs to go to the toilet in the middle of everything. You're like, what's everybody going to think? Where am I going to go? How can I get in? And you replay this story that you're actually not going to come back. You're just going to stand there and watch the rest of the keynote. Do you get what I mean? So how many stories have you told today? Is it over 30? Yes or no?
Yes.
Easily. What I want you to understand is your entire life is a story. And the person who's the best storyteller in here wins. If you tell hero stories to yourself, confident stories, success stories, have you met these people who tell these stories to themselves? Have you? And they are generally way more powerful and successful. Which is then strange, because some of you have really good products and services, and then you go like, ooh, I'm feeling it. I've got these stories about clients. Ooh, but I don't think I'm going to tell that in my presentation to future clients. What I'll do is this. This is one of the single biggest mistakes people do in business storytelling. They take and build their story into objects, bullet lists, data, charts, jargon, and words. How many times have you seen presentations that look like this? Many? Too many? That's why I created the TED Talk, How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint. This is not very good for a functioning brain. So what people do then is they do this. Instead of just telling a story, which your brain is built to understand, we take the story and we recreate it into this, and then we tell that to the client in the hopes of them translating that to a story that they understand. Do you see the problem here? You would never do this in life. You would never take detours like this in life. You wouldn't go like, darling, I'm taking the 2-hour detour to work this morning because I'm stupid. You just wouldn't. But in this case, you go like, if I tell you a story, you'll understand exactly what you mean and you'll feel it. But no, I'll take this massive detour and I'll create 20 slides which are incomprehensible for you in the hopes of you translating that into a motivational story for you. It doesn't make sense. This is one of the big mistakes. But let's move into something a bit more exciting now. We've had a look at why it's powerful, how it's powerful. I want to prove how powerful it is. You have a neurotransmitter in your brain which is called dopamine, right? it creates these effects. Have a look at this. Focus, motivation, creativity, and memory. How many of you would say that those are important in life? Yes or no? Are they important in presentations? In meetings and in stories? I'd say that they are beyond important. They are fundamental. You see, all of you need dopamine. It's the sensation of wanting something, desiring something, craving something. When you've ordered something which is coming on Friday, a new mobile phone, a new car, whatever it is, you're going to do something exciting on Friday, and you're feeling this feeling where you're going, oh, I can't wait, it's soon Friday. And you're talking to everyone about it. You're boring people about it to the extent because you're so excited. You're like, and Friday comes, boom. And you get this thing. That is dopamine. Do you know what happens if I don't give you dopamine from stage? Your brain will go like this. But David, I need dopamine. Why aren't you giving me dopamine? This is your only job, man. I need dopamine. And then in the corner of your eye, you sneak up your mobile phone and you go, oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, I'll do some LinkedIn, I'll check email. I just did that 1 minute ago. I've got no idea why I'm doing it again. It's pointless. But it's giving me the hit. And boom, the mobile phone goes down in your pocket again and you go, I'm ready now. 2 minutes later, you're like, fuck. I got to bring your mobile phone up again and check it. I had a client once who called me up and he said, can you coach me? And I said, maybe. I'll need to check you out first. Come in. There's 100 people sitting there. He's on stage. There's 98 of the 100 are neurologically, clinically dead, right? Because they're so bored of the presentation. There's 2 in the middle, and they're going, yes, 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 yes. Oh my God, oh, no way. Yeah? And they're like, what are they doing which the others are not? And what they are doing is that they've heard that the presenter is using filler sounds, going, and they're counting them. They're like, 17, 18, 19, it's only 10 minutes in, this is crazy. Because that brings out more dopamine than listening to the actual words coming out of the person. So the question then is this. What is the power of dopamine in stories? So I want to tell you the same story. It's 30 seconds long, and I'm going to start the first version without dopamine, and the second version of exactly the same story, I'll fill with dopamine. You listen to what the difference and how I do it, right? Are you ready? This one is without dopamine. The man woke up in the morning, put on his slippers, walked to the door, which was open, came out into the hallway, saw the wet tracks, ran down the corridor, came to the balcony, looked into the pool. The end. Now that's a boring story. Let's add dopamine to it. It sounds like this. I can see your dopamine. It's oozing in here. Here we go. The man woke up in the morning. What was that smell? And why was it so silent? He looked to his right and he saw the bed was empty. He thought to himself, no, it can't be. He put on his slippers, he ran to the door was open, it shouldn't have been, it should have been closed. He runs out into the corridor, he sees the wet tracks, he screams to himself, he says, no, it can't be. Please don't say so. He runs to the balcony, he looks into the pool, over the railing, and in the pool he sees his worst nightmare come alive. Because in the pool, he sees the end. Do you now see how you want to hear the ending here, but you didn't want to hear the ending here? How can that be? How can something so simple transform so easily? And I'll give the answer to you. The main component, which I did differently, is in the second version, I added what I refer to as unanswered questions. You have currently got 10 unanswered questions in your brain. It is, what was the smell? Why was it silent? Why is the bed empty? Why did he scream? Why did he run? Why did he scream again in the hallway? And why did he stop in the railing? And why was it his worst nightmare? Actually 9. And you are sitting there with those unanswered questions. You're going like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. You got to give it to me. You can't leave me here. And that's the reason when you're watching a TV show, you can't stop watching it. Because at the end of every episode, there has to be an unanswered question for the next episode. And even against every logical decision you can make, it can be 12:30 in the night. And you go like, one more. Yeah, I'll do one more. What? Driven by dopamine. So my friends, when you do storytelling, just take whatever client story you have and inject 5, 10 unanswered questions in it, and it becomes beautiful. We're going to have a look at one more, which is oxytocin. Oxytocin creates these effects. Would you say that they are important in life? Would you say that a relationship with these would work? Yeah. Imagine a relationship without these. There's no empathy, no trust, no connection in a relationship. So what is oxytocin? It is a bonding neuropeptide. It is what makes you trust other human beings, connect with other human beings, feel for other human beings, empathy for other human beings. So every friend you have, oxytocin is produced when you are in their presence or even just think about them. Same thing goes with your spouse or maybe your husband or wife. Tell me this, if you're in a client business situation, would this be important in the meeting? Would they even listen to you if this doesn't exist? Probably not. So then the question becomes, how do we create oxytocin? Well, let me add a layer of oxytocin on the previous story. Are you ready? The man woke up in the morning. What was that smell? And why was it so silent? He looked to his right and he saw his son was gone. The bed was empty. He thought to himself, no, I told him. No, he can't have left, can he? He runs to the door. He sees the wet tracks on the floor. He fears the worst. He says, no, I told him not to swim. I told him not to get into the pool before me. Say it isn't so. He runs down the balcony, comes to the railing, looks into the pool. My friend calls me up when he's at hospital with his son. And he describes this entire journey where he stands on the balcony, he looks down to the pool and sees his son floating upside down, lifeless. And he was crying as he did so. This story is longer and quite complicated, but hey, it all turned out well for the little kid. So he survived. But what's interesting now is that you have a different association to my story. You're attached to it in a different way because I added layers of oxytocin to it. How did I do so? I mentioned emotions which are attached to oxytocin, which could be, for instance, crying. I mentioned a child in politics, for instance. You're always supposed to mention your children or your grandmother or your grandfather or your dog or your cat. That's the rule of politics. The same thing goes for storytelling because it creates oxytocin. So I'll just put it like this. If you want to add oxytocin to your business stories, add any of these. Add setbacks to your stories. I hear so many people tell their business stories and they go like this. Oh yeah, we started our company here, everything went well, and then this happened, and then this great, and then blah, 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 and then we succeeded. Nobody cares because that is not an authentic story. Nothing in life works like that. Stories work like this. We started the company, we failed, we started, and we did this, and we failed, and we did this, and we failed. And every time you admit failure and weakness and setback, you create oxytocin and they love you for it. Do not hold your setbacks and weaknesses back. Another thing is, tell personal stories. Don't be afraid of sharing who you are. The third one is, in your delivery, use the tone of voice that matches the emotion you want to create. And number 4, this one's interesting. This one is so interesting. We care more for people which have particular traits than we don't. So in a movie, for instance, we care more about a person if they're the strongest woman on earth than if they were just average strong. We care for people with traits, particular traits. So I'll give you an example. I was so proud last year because I've been chasing this domain for forever and I love this subject. And last year I had the opportunity of buying it. And for me that is so big because this is the most powerful subject on earth and I got to own the biggest domain on earth. And I wanted to create something really special with it. I wanted to honor every storyteller before me. So for instance, this T in the logo type is from the original Gutenberg alphabet. This R is from the runes of Vikings which traveled the oceans and told the tales and made people move all over the world. The I is from Tolkien and his handwriting, and the G is a celebration of Shakespeare and his handwriting. And as soon as I've given you just a little bit of a story behind this logo, it makes the entire difference because I added traits to it. So when you describe your company, your products, your services, remember the weaknesses, remember the setbacks, remember the personal reflections, remember the traits of it. This is me on TikTok. I live for the idea of giving free communication to all children on earth. That is what I do. That's what I want to be on my gravestone when I die. I gave free communication skills to all kids on earth, or at least the opportunity. And I do so on TikTok. And I think what is fascinating here is that I take the most ancient skill of all, which is storytelling, and I use it on TikTok. Do you think it works? This one, for instance, has 3.5 million views.
A teacher once had a class of students where the subject was sorrow. He began the class by telling a joke, and all the students, they roared of laughter. And after a while he told the same joke, and this time some smiled and some laughed. And after a while he told the joke again, and this time nobody smiled. He smiled though at the students and he said, "Isn't it interesting? You can't laugh at the same joke over and over. But why do you then choose to cry over the same problem over and over?"
So in total, I think I have 170 million views on TikTok. And it's stories. And the feedback is tremendous because the stories actually reach human beings in a way that facts don't. So if you have kids, or you're just interested in storytelling, just hit my TikTok account, and there's loads of it. I want to repeat something if it hasn't been entirely clear for you. This is the amount of time we believe that we've been using storytelling as the primary way of moving knowledge from generation to generation. This is the amount of time we've been using drawings on cave walls to transfer knowledge from generation to generation. This is the amount of times that we've been using writing to transfer knowledge from generation to generation. And my friends, 28 years ago, PowerPoint was born. How on earth can you come up with the idea that when you're supposed to present something, you go, "I'll use that shit," which hasn't even been around for more than a half or a third of a life. Okay, we're going to try something. I'm going to ask you all to stand up because we're going to do a quick experiment. All right, in this one, I want you to go 2 and 2. So just grab the person closest to you. If impossible, you can go 3. All right. So you are just about to experience something called your somatic feedback loop, and it's super entertaining. So my last project, my last TED Talk, was me analyzing 5,000 public speakers. It took me 7 years. What I wanted to find out was that I wanted to pinpoint every skill you all use when you communicate. And I found 110 skills. Which means that the more of these you fulfill, the more mesmerizing, brilliant, and magical you are in your communication. So we're going to try this. We're going to try one of the most important ones, the most important one of all. I'm going to ask one of you from this pair, see to that you see who's number 1 in your pair. Who's number 1? All right. I want number 1 to describe a physical exercise that they think they're good at. A physical exercise that they think they're good at. And no naughty stuff, right? just good stuff. Okay, you have 15 seconds to describe this physical exercise. It could be golf, boxing, whatever it is. 15 seconds, but you are not allowed to use your body language. You're just allowed to use your voice. It's tricky. Go. You have 15 seconds. Well, stop there. Stop. All right, is that painful? Is it easy? Is it interesting to listen to? No. We'll go once again, 15 seconds. This person is now allowed to use full body language to describe their physical thing. Go. Right, did you hear the volume in the room doubled? Right? Was this more entertaining to listen to? Was it easier to deliver? Out of the 110 skills, this was number 45. And I just want to leave you with that in storytelling. When you tell stories, do not do what you did the first time, i.e. lock your hands and body language. Allow them to tell the story with you, and this will happen. You'll transform into a more energetic, happy, emotional, powerful person. Do not lock your body language down like most presenters do, where they hide away with a laser pointer and they go, blah, 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 blah. Live it, my friends. Live life. See you later. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.